Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to spin dye your discs like these. So let's go out to the garage and I'll show you what you need. First thing you're going to need is an old record player. You need some kind of turntable. A lot of people use box fans with a dimmer switch installed, but I'm really stupid when it comes to electrical stuff, so I just got a turntable at a thrift store. And you probably shouldn't pay any more than $25 for one. I got this one for $12.50, but it was half off day, so I got lucky, I guess. You are going to need dye. For the bright yellows, I use Quick Coat Worm Dip. It has acetone already mixed in with it, so you don't have to mix it with anything. And then for the rest of the colors right now, I use the iDye Poly. It comes with the powder dye and if I can get this out of here with one hand, it comes with powder dye and this color intensifier stuff, but you don't need that. You can throw that away. So with the iDye Poly, what you're going to do is you're going to get glass containers or like mason jars or something like that, and you're going to pour probably about maybe like half a teaspoon or maybe like a teaspoon. I fill it up to about there on these of the powder, and then fill up the rest with acetone. So you can just get acetone at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, it's in the painting aisle. Fill it up with your powder dye and the acetone and then mix it all together. The reason that you want to keep these in glass jars is because if you keep them in plastic containers like this guy, the acetone will eat it away and it'll basically melt and get dye everywhere. And I learned that the hard way, so don't do that. You're going to need paint brushes. I have separate paint brushes for the worm dye and the iDye Poly because after you put your brush in the iDye, it'll still have a little bit of paint on the brush, and when you dip it in the worm dye, because the worm dye has acetone in it, the paint from the brush will get into the worm dye and mix with your yellow, and you don't want that. So just get a couple sets of paint brushes. I just got them at Joann Fabrics. That's where I got the iDye Poly too, and then the worm dye I got from a fishing website. I'll put the link in the description for that. You're gonna need paper towels and cardboard or something to put all your stuff on, because as you can see, I've gotten dye everywhere and I didn't want it all over my garage floor. That's pretty much all you need. Maybe an eyedropper, because after the this one didn't do it, but sometimes after the powder dye and the acetone have been sitting in the glass containers for a little bit, it'll harden and get powdery again. So you just kind of put a couple drops of acetone in there to kind of wake it up. and get it back to a liquid form. That's all you really need. So let me get my trusty camera woman out here and I will show you how we actually dye the disc. Alright, so we're ready to dye the disc. I'm gonna do this Opto River here, and I'm gonna start with purple in the middle on the outer ring, and then go red, orange, yellow, and I'll show you how I do that. And if you get a record player or a turntable like this, I like to have it set on the 33 RPMs because it's a little bit slower than 45, and you get cleaner lines, I think. So one of the most important things about this is getting the disc perfectly center. And that was really lucky. It usually takes a lot longer than that. But you have to make sure that it's not wobbling at all on any side, or else your circle on the outside, it won't be a perfect circle. It won't line up with the disc. So if you're gonna have yellow on the outside, what I do is I put the yellow down first as kind of a base. Well, let me mix these up first. So I just take these like skewer sticks, shish kebab type things, and I just kind of mix it up. And then I have one for each of these so they don't get other colors in them. So I have, what are you doing? I have my paintbrush that's used for the yellow only because I don't want to mix it up with the other colors and get any other colors back in the worm dye. So just dip it in, get a little bit off. Come over here to the very edge of the disc and just be very, very still. And just press down and hold it down. And just do it for a couple times of the disc spinning a full rotation. So now you have a nice yellow ring on the outside there. And then I usually go over it a couple times just to make it as bright as possible. Okay. Okay, so can you back the camera up a little bit just to show the yellow here? So then I'm gonna go in even further with the yellow because when I put the red and orange down, it'll make it pop more. It'll make it seem brighter because the yellow's underneath it. So you just hold it steady there.
How much pressure are you using?
Not much. I'm not really bending the bristles a whole lot on the brush. Just kind of. And then when I get towards the center of the disc, I like to use this little arm here. So just hold it super steady. And then I'll go over the yellow one more time, like on the insides where I overlapped. You really don't need a whole lot of pressure because you don't want to knock the disc off center. So that looks pretty good, pretty bright. So I'm done with the yellow now. I don't need it anymore. Oh, and you always need to have like a water cup. And then for the red and the orange, I tear off a paper towel. And I just put this over here. And I just use one brush for both the yellow and the orange. And I make sure it has a flat head on it so I can get the same size lines each time. So I'm going to start with the purple because there's a little bit of purple in that stamp, so I kind of want to. I don't know why the acetone didn't need it this plastic bottle, but it didn't. Make sure you always put your caps on your dye, because if you spill it, you're probably not going to get it out of whatever you spilled it on. So then I kind of start light. So I dip. You watching what I'm doing over here? I dip just a little bit on the edge of the bristles, and then I come over here and I just kind of get it off there a little bit. And then come down here and find where you want to start the circles. And just press down. And that's all we really need of the purple. So, wash your brush off a little bit. Try to get the purple off. And I'm done with purple. So now I'm going to start with red. I'm going to get a little bit off of there so it's not quite as dark. And I'm just going to kind of go right at the edge of the purple line with the red. And a lot of times you'll be able to see where you first put your brush down. And I just try to not put my brush down in the same spot when I go over it, so it doesn't get too heavy on one side. So I'll go like right there. And then I'll go one more time over that. So now what I'm going to do, now that I have this solid red line here, can you back up a little bit and like try to get it over the disc? There you go. Thanks. So now I still have a little bit of paint on the bristles, and I'm just going to kind of blend it out. And then I'm going to get a little bit more. So get a little bit more paint on the bristles, but then wipe some of it off so it's not as dark. And so now you're just kind of making a gradient from dark to light. paint off the bristles here. And you can put a little bit more pressure once you've started to come out on these outer circles. I'm still using the red, but it's looking orange because it's on top of the yellow. I don't even think I'm going to need orange in this one, actually. So I'm going to get a little bit more on my brush, and I'm basically just going to wipe all of it off. So I just barely have any on there. And that was actually a little darker than I wanted it to be, but and then I'm going to leave the rest of that yellow there. So so that's pretty much it. And now, since all these dyes were mixed with acetone, that's going to be dry, like now. So I can pick this up. And you can see these lines, perfect circles. That's about it. The only thing that you're going to need to know after this is there is going to be some excess dye on top of here. So you're going to want to let this sit for about 24 hours. And then after that, just run it under some water in the sink, and you'll see some of the red come off mostly and some of the purple. But it won't actually be coming, the dye will take, the plastic will take the dye and it won't come out of there. But the excess stuff that's sitting on top of there will. But I can touch this right now and it's not going to come off. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have fun with it.